The other question is one we touched on before, actually. I'd just like to expand on it. So this is the sort of idea of having slightly different rental amounts. So one of the landlords says, is it acceptable to say have 10 months at a higher rate and then the
Mm.
last two at a lower rate, so that you mitigate again that risk that everyone's concerned about those, those early levers, if you like.
Yeah.
You kind of front end your tenancy. Is that possible?
Well, the weird thing is that this isn't a renters' rights bill question at all. This is a tenant fees act question, and in principle, that's already prohibited. You can't have a period which is higher than a subsequent rental period. The idea is to prevent like front loading of rent, but it seems weird to me, instinctively weird, that a landlord couldn't generously agree not to charge full rent for a period of time. Um, it sounds daft, to be honest, but if you read the Tenant Fees Act, that's exactly what it prohibits. So, on the basis it isn't currently allowed, it won't be allowed in the future either. So, if you do it, you do it. But bear in mind, it is a technical breach of the Tenant Fees Act.
Yeah, so technically it's not allowed, but giving 2 months rent free at the end, would that be acceptable?
No, so again, if we're talking about the way in which it's structured, is if you have a rental period which is higher in value than a subsequent rental period. So if we just say £1,000, £900 for 2 different months, the £100 difference in the first month is a prohibited payment. You're basically capped at whatever the lowest rental period is for the first 12 months of a tenancy. Now we're only really talking about the first 12 months of a tenancy with student lets. So the clever workaround might be as if there was a way to extend it beyond 12 months, but it wouldn't quite sync up with other tenancies that they might want to take up. So I don't think there's a way to do it that way. If we're talking about a purely 12-month tenancy, but bear in mind we don't have fixed terms at all here, the contract would need to specify months 1 to 10 are X, months 11 to 12 are free. That's prohibited. And the way in which it works, I gave the £1,000 and £900 example, that the £100 difference is prohibited payment. It's basically the difference between the higher and the lower values. The entire rent is a prohibited payment because the difference between the X payment and zero is going to be X. Yeah, it seems strange that landlord can't be generous. The landlord has to charge full rent.
Yes, fair enough. I don't want to go too far down this one, but then a question springs to mind because I know some PBSAs do something similar. I assume it is acceptable, though, to say that you get a refund of your rent in the last 2 months. So as long as the amounts that you're charging are consistent, you could
Hmm.
say that you effectively get your rent refunded for a month or something along those lines, as
Yes,
long as you're not varying the rent.
I think that's the way around it. Is if you have you can't have anything in your contract saying that the basic months 10, 11 are free, because that's altering the rental periods. But if you
Yes.
basically just charge the full rent and then again you just give it back at the time, it can't be like a premeditated contractual arrangement. There's nothing to stop a landlord from just doing that. And again, I've kind of said it a few times. It feels like there's going to be circumstances here where landlords and tenants are just going to have little chats between themselves about the way in which rent's going to be paid, and everyone's going to basically continue as normal. I can see that for happening in loads of different circumstances. Tenants aren't going to know. The relevant organisations who are going to govern this, so local authorities in most cases, are probably never going to find out that there's been a breach going on. So I think there's going to be a significant part of the sector which is just going to carry on. It's my job to tell you what the law is. It's your job to do your job. So how you choose to interpret that is up to you.